Today I'm going to be taking a look at a Linux distribution that I've never used and I don't know that much about. Today I'm going to take a look at Emmabuntüs. Emmabuntüs is a Debian-based Linux distribution. It is a distribution that is used to basically refurbish older machines. Particularly, it is used to refurbish older computers that are donated or given away to humanitarian organizations. So let's get started. So let's take a quick look at the distro watch page. Their release announcement here for Emmabuntüs 9-1.03. That's a mouthful for a version number. Anyway, Emmabuntüs is a desktop Linux distribution designed to be user-friendly and to work well on older machines. Some of the release announcement stuff mentions support for Flatpak, so they support Flatpak out of the box. They've added a Steam installation script, I guess, to get Steam installed on these machines. Only available in a 64-bit edition. That's strange, since this is designed to basically resurrect older machines, but all you get is a 64-bit ISO. Also mentions some stuff about LXDE and XFCE, so I'm assuming it's using one or both, or some kind of hybrid of those desktops. I'm not sure. Again, I don't know much about Emmabuntüs. Country of origin is France. Desktop, it mentions LXDE and XFCE here on the Distro Watch page. Popularity, it is number 72 in Distro Watch's top 100 page hit rankings, so does have a pretty good following. Again, I've never really heard of this until recently, so this is kind of new to me, but I really wanted to focus on this project because I saw the release announcement a few days ago. Also, the main dev of Emmabuntüs contacted me on Mastodon and told me about the release, and just checking out their website, I was just blown away by the fact that this is really geared toward humanitarianism. So that in and of itself really made me want to, give this distribution some time on the channel. So reading a little bit from the website, this distribution was designed to facilitate the refurbishing of computers given to humanitarian organizations, especially Emmaus communities, where the name comes from. So Emmaus, the name Emmabuntüs, I guess, comes from Emmaus. So they're basically, let me tell you a little bit about Emmaus. A distro for all seasons. This page mentions the Emmaus movement was initiated in 1949 by a Catholic priest named Pierre. Although the movement has no religious affiliation, who really wanted to put solidarity into action in helping those who suffer most and also being the voice of those without a voice. So basically, we're trying to get computers into the hands of needy people around the world. They mentioned they focus particularly in Africa. So Emmabuntüs is an Ubuntu and now Debian-based distro designed for lower spec hardware suitable for users of all ages. The project is based in France, where donated machines are refurbished by volunteers and sold at bargain prices to raise funds. But it's also part of a bigger picture, being allied with all kinds of charity work around the world, particularly in Africa. We spent some time with lead developer Patrick, this article here. Again, the lead developer Patrick was the one who actually contacted me on Mastodon to let me know about the recent version here of Emmabuntüs. Today I'm going to install Emmabuntüs inside a VM. I'm going to install this inside VirtualBox. Alright, so I've downloaded the ISO and I'm installing this inside VirtualBox today. We have language choices at the boot menu. We have English, French, Spanish, Italian, German, and Portuguese. Do we want to try Emmabuntüs or install? First of all, we need to pick English for our language. Try Emmabuntüs without installing. That will just boot us into a live environment, or we can just run through the installer. We have the options of running the installer in a text mode, probably some kind of ncurses installer, or install Emmabuntüs in graphical mode. Let's go through the graphic mode install. Let's see what that's all about. Being Debian-based, I'm assuming it's going to be your standard Debian installer, and it looks to be the case. We even have the Debian logo still here in the installer. English has been chosen as our language, that's correct, so I just need to click continue. US for our location is correct. American English for the keyboard layout is correct. Right, it's detecting and mounting CD-ROM. This is taking a second. It's loading additional components. Alright. Mentions in the, by the way, the installer, Emmabuntüs Debian Edition 2. So I guess this is their second version of their Debian-based edition. I wish they would just actually simplify the version number to something like Emmabuntüs Debian 2 instead of 9-1.03. Alright, configuring the network, we need a host name. By default, the Debian installer wants to set the host name to Debian. I don't like that. How about we just call it Emma? We'll shorten Emmabuntüs to Emma. Alright, domain name, we don't need to set one really. Configuring the network, alright, we need to set a root password, so we need to create a strong and secure password for root. So I'm going to type the password here. Doesn't want to type today. Alright, we need to re-enter the password for confirmation, then click continue. Alright, full name of the new user. I'm going to call my user DT. Continue username for the account. I'm also going to use DT for the username. Alright, a good password will contain a mixture of numbers, letters, punctuation, should be changed at regular intervals, etc. Anyway, we need to create a strong and secure password for the DT user. Alright, click continue. Configure the clock. I'm in the central time zone here in the US. Alright, it's detecting the disk. I gave this VM 2 cores of my 6-core CPU. I gave this VM 4 gigs of RAM, and I created a 15 gig hard drive in the virtual machine. So I'm going to let basically Debian's installer do the automatic partitioning, what they call the guided partitioning, use the entire disk. Now I know from experience Debian's installer is going to create a swap partition the same size as the amount of RAM I gave the machine. So since I gave it 4 gigs of RAM, it's going to create a 4 gig swap. In a VM, that's kind of wasted space. That swap is not going to be used, but I'm going to go ahead and let the installer do the automatic partitioning. Click continue. Right, do we want all our files in one partition? That's usually what I do. Do we want to separate our home partition? No, not really. Definitely not in a VM. Again, a lot of wasted space doing that. We can also separate /home and /var and /temp into their own partitions. That would be a lot of wasted space in a VM. Alright, so here is our partitions. It's creating an extended 4 partition on root, of course. And again, 4 gig swap, that's expected. That's what Debian does by default. Alright, everything looks good, so click continue and it should format the drive and write to the disk after I confirm that that is exactly what I want to do. I have to tick yes, click continue, and now it formats the drive and it begins to install the system. It's copying data to disk. So this may take a few minutes. I'll pause the recording. And now the installer is asking us about configuring the package manager. It's asking us, do we want to use a network mirror? Yes, we do. Alright, our mirror should be in the United States. Obviously, you want something close to your location. By default, it is picking ftp.us.debian.org as our mirror. I could manually choose some other selection, but I'll go with what they suggest. Proxy, I'm not using a proxy. Alright, it's configuring the apt package manager, apt, standard package manager in Debian and all Debian-based distributions. Alright, now the bootloader. Do we want to install the grub bootloader to the master boot record? We do. Click continue. Device, the only device I have is /dev/sda, so that makes it easy. And it is installing grub. This may take a few seconds. It's running update grub. It's finishing the installation. And the installation has completed, so it's time to reboot the system. So I go down here, click continue, and reboot the machine to complete installation. And I have rebooted my freshly installed Emmabuntüs. This is the Debian edition, based on Debian 9 stretch. And we wait for it to load up here. And still waiting. Alright, we got to a login manager pretty quickly there. Sometimes the very first time you reboot after installation and log in for the very first time, sometimes it can take a minute to boot up. Alright, looks like our VirtualBox guest editions are going to work out of the box here. Alright, welcome to Emmabuntüs Debian Edition 2. Thanks for installing Emmabuntüs. We hope it will meet your expectations. Before you can play with it, you need to fill in the various post-installation configuration forms. So there may be some post-installation script of some kind that I have to run through. Yeah, it's installing some more stuff. Alright, please select the version of the application menu that best suits your needs. Do I want Classic or Whisker? So it is XFCE. I like the Whisker menu in XFCE. Please select the most appropriate image version of your needs. Image version. Emmabuntüs, Ubuntu, off. By default, it had Ubuntu selected. I'll just go with the default. Please select the wallpaper type most suitable for your needs. So I have Classic Emmabuntüs, Emmabuntüs wallpaper 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, all nice wallpapers. I'm going to go with the third one here. Alright, do we want to start G-Speak, which is a text-to-speech program every time we start the computer? No, I don't want that. Do I want to enable automatic login? No, I don't want that either. I'm going to tick that off. Now I'm going to click OK. Alright, Cairo dock. Okay, it's configuring a dock for us. Cairo dock, configuration window. Do we want to activate the dock? Yeah, that's fine. Since it's ticked on by default, I'll use the dock. Do we want to lock the Emmabuntüs default dock? Do we want to activate the taskbar? I'm just going to go with what's already been selected here. Please select the version of the dock that is best for your needs. Do we want all for those wanting access to all applications? Simple for beginners and my dearest Madam Michu. Not sure about that. Basic for children and very beginners. You know what, since I'm a little bit more advanced, I'll choose all. Click OK. Alright. And would you like to install non-free software in this distribution? Absolutely. I want Flash, I want the multimedia codecs. Without them, you really can't play a lot of video. Do I want Skype? Nah, I don't use Skype. I use other video conferencing alternatives. TeamViewer. I actually do use TeamViewer. I'm not going to use it in a VM, so I won't tick that on. Microsoft fonts I would want, so I would tick all of that on. But you know what? In this VM and for this demonstration purposes, I'm not going to install any of that because it will take some time. Do I want to remove unnecessary languages from the distribution? Yeah, I don't need anything other than English, so that's fine. Show this window at next startup. I'm going to tick that off. I never want to see this window again. And let's see if we have successfully run through all the post-installation stuff. So removing some languages. It's removing French here from the system. Looks like this may take a minute, so I'll pause the recording. And that post-installation script has finished. Now we get a proper welcome greeter. Welcome to Emmabuntüs Debian Edition 2. This distribution is made to refurbish computers. Alright, do we want to click any of these tabs? We have tutorials, our Debian handbook, we have a link to the wiki, tools, our settings manager, our software center, links to the forums if we needed to get support, videos. I guess they have a YouTube channel maybe to show you how to use Emmabuntüs, and contribute, probably how to donate time, code, money to the project. So this is really neat. I like having a greeter, especially for new Linux users. This is nice to have. I'm not going to go through it though. I'm going to tick this off, show this window at next startup. I don't need to see this every time I log in, so the one time is fine. I'm going to close it. If you wanted to come back to that greeter at a later time, you just would find it in your menu system. I'm sure it's somewhere in here, probably called hello maybe, or hello, no, or greeter, maybe. Maybe Emmabuntüs welcome. There, I bet that's it. Yeah, so you could always come back to it if you needed to. But alright, let's go through the menu system and see what is installed by default in Emmabuntüs. So if I go to the accessories subcategory here, we have our application finder, standard application finder here. So you could search for an application, or you could just go through the categories here and search through an application. Of course, this would not be that different from me just going through the menu system here. So really the application finder is kind of an unnecessary program in many regards. The archive manager is for zip, unzip, that sort of thing. It looks like they may be using the archive manager, the GNOME archive manager, which is called File Roller. I'm assuming that is what this is. I don't really have any information about it. I don't have any kind of about information in the menu system. Of course, the name of the program is just called Archive Manager. That's kind of a GNOME sort of thing to do. They love those generic names for programs. We have a program called Backups here. This is Deja Dupe. So Deja Dupe is a backup and restore sort of program. Standard backup program on Ubuntu, for example. So pretty popular program. Also under accessories, we have Brother for our printers, bulk rename, caffeine, calculator, Debian reference again, so if you want to get some quick Debian reference. I'm assuming this is going to open a web browser and maybe take us to like the Debian wiki or something. But it actually doesn't do anything. So I clicked on it and it didn't do anything. I'm not sure exactly what that was supposed to do. I'll click on it one more time just to make sure. But it doesn't look like it's going to open anything. Also under accessories, we have the GNOME disk utility. We have files. Now that is interesting. Files is the Nautilus file manager, which I'm not sure why that is here since we're not using GNOME. It's kind of a strange choice to have this on the system, because if you're using XFCE as your desktop, you already have a file manager, a much better one than the GNOME file manager in my opinion. You should have Thunar somewhere in here. Thunar, the file manager. Now this is XFCE's file manager, and it is a much better file manager than at least the current versions of Nautilus with GNOME. So I'm not sure why they felt the need to include the GNOME file manager. I would get rid of that. It seems like unnecessary bloat to the system. Also under accessories, we have Font Viewer, Gnote, Handy, TRI. I'm not sure what that is. Choose a folder to sort. I'm not trying to sort any folders today. Alright. Also under accessories, we have an HP device manager for your HP printers. KeyPass is here, LightDM greeter settings. That's to change the LightDM login greeter. We have our menu editor. So this would be to edit the menu here, the XFCE menu. This program is called Menu Libre, by the way. Really nice menu editing program. Also under accessories, we have multi-system. I'm not sure what that is. It says it easily creates live USB. Okay, so this would be our USB writer, I'm assuming. Yeah. Let's close that out. Also under accessories, we have notes, global time, password and keys, screenshot for our screenshot utility. We have Shutter. Let's see, please wait while Shutter updates the plugin information. This is taking some time to load here. Of course, it is the very first time we ran the program, so that may be the problem here. Anyway, Shutter 0.93.1. Shutter is a featureful screenshot tool. So, another screenshot utility. There's a couple of them on the system here. Also under accessories, we have our USB image writer, our USB stick formatter to format a USB stick. We have virtual magnifying glass. That's interesting there. Well, I don't think I've ever seen that installed by default on any Linux distro before, so that is pretty neat. That's kind of cool. I really wasn't expecting anything like that. We have Wamu, which is an application for mobile phones. Wine Tricks, which I don't like Wine. You guys know I hate Wine. Wine is an environment to run Windows-only programs inside Linux, but if you're going to do that, just use a virtual machine and install Windows in a virtual machine if you need to use a Windows program, because Wine is kind of buggy and kind of sucks, to be honest. XFburn is also here under accessories. This is the standard XFCE disk burning utility. Not a bad disk burning program. Alright, we have a Cairo dock subcategory here for all our dock stuff. I'm not going to take a look at that. We have development, and under development we have Arduino for our IDE. We have Genie also for an IDE. I actually really like Genie. It's one I install on every system of mine. A fast and lightweight IDE. This is Genie 1.29. Also, under development, we have Scratch, and we have Squeak. Squeak is programming system and content development tool. Please select from the list below, choose one. And there's nothing in the list. Let me cancel that. I really don't know what Squeak is anyway. It's not a tool I use. I'm really not a programmer myself. Under education, we have a ton of education programs. Awesome. We have Child's Play, Educational Suite, G-Compress, LibreOffice Math, OmniTux, SciCache, Admin, Scratch again, Stellarium, Tux Math, Tux Paint. You guys that watched my recent Taking Into Account episode 12 this past Thursday, yesterday, one of the stories I mentioned was programs for kids, and I actually mentioned several of these programs on yesterday's Taking Into Account. I talked about Child's Play briefly, Scratch, Stellarium, Tux Math, Tux Paint. So that's pretty cool to see these installed by default on the system. Great for kids, especially younger kids, for learning vocabulary and math and whatnot. We have a games category, some game stuff. Play on Linux is here. More wine stuff. I hate wine again. Some other stuff here. We have SuperTux and GBrainy. Under graphics, we have Darktable installed by default. So this is another like a photo manager here. Let me make it full screen here. This is Darktable 2.2.1. Really nice program, Darktable. You don't see it installed by default on that many Linux distributions. We also have Digicam, which is one of the KDE apps. I wonder why that's here. An odd choice in XFCE to include Digicam. That is another digital photo management application. Nice program, just strange that you would include a KDE app in XFCE. We also have our document viewer, ebook viewer. GIMP is here, the GNU image manipulation program, GIMP. This is our free and open source alternative to something like Adobe Photoshop, for example. Looks like they're using GIMP 2.8. It's going to take a minute to load. It's loading a few plugins. And again, this is in a VM too, so it's going to take a little time to load. But yeah, this is GIMP. Big fan of GIMP. So again, GIMP 2.8.18. Close that out. I do notice that as I've been opening programs, some of them minimize to the system tray here at the top. So that magnifying glass, let me kill that. We also have this here. I'm not sure what that is. This is our, assuming checking for updates, yeah. And this here is shutter. So when I killed shutter, it just minimized to the sys tray. Let me quit it. Alright, so was that all in graphics? No, we have Inkscape, LibreOffice Draw, Penta, Scribus, Shotwell is also here. So that's 3 different photo management tools. That's strange. Anyway, Internet. Chromium for our web browser. Actually, we have Firefox ESR for our web browser. So both Chromium and Firefox. Let's check out Chromium here. What version are we using? Go to About Chromium. It takes a second to load. Version 69.0. And kill Chromium here. Firefox ESR is going to be the latest ESR Firefox 62, I believe, is what they're on now. Alright, we have FileZilla for our FTP, File Transfer Protocol. Really nice tool. We have some Framasoft services like Framadrop, Framasoft Services, Framatalk. So that's a video conferencing application. For those that are not familiar with Framasoft, it is a French organization that creates a lot of free and open source applications and various software services. So, unfortunately, most of their website and all is in French. It's a French company. Emmabuntüs, of course, is a French in origin, the distribution. So it makes sense for them to have some of the Framasoft stuff here. All right, under multimedia. Well, actually, let's go back to Internet. What did I miss? Gpotter, HexChat for IRC. Jitsi is here for video conferencing. Steam. I'm sure that's just the Steam installer. You click it and it installs Steam on your system. It's not installed by default because that would take up a lot of space. Thunderbird for email transmission for BitTorrent. Now, multimedia. We have Awesome Mixer, Audacious. Audacious is a light, minimal music player, kind of reminiscent of the old Winamp program in Windows. Also under multimedia, we have Audacity for editing audio. Really, really nice audio editor. This is what I use sometimes to edit audio making my YouTube videos. Brasero for a disk burning utility. GNOME disk burning utility. So we have XFburn for disk burning. We also have Brasero. I'm not sure, again, that's wasted space. You really don't need both. Since you already have XFCE on the system and XFburn, why have Brasero on the disk? Get rid of that. Cheese is our webcam. Clementine is a really, really nice audio player. It is a Qt app, though. I'm not sure why you're using Qt apps if you're using XFCE, which is GTK. I love Clementine, don't get me wrong. That's probably the best music player we have. But chances are, I bet under multimedia, I find other music players you already had. I mean, we already saw Audacious was here. Why have Audacious and Clementine on the system? Anything else? We have Minitube for watching YouTube. Kdenlive. Kdenlive is a fantastic video editor. It is the video editor I use to edit my videos. Radio Tray is here to listen to internet radio. Videos is going to be the Totem video player, the standard GNOME video player. I'm just going to close that out. We also have VLC. VLC is probably the best video player we have available as far as free and open source software available on Linux. This is VLC 3.0.3. There is just a ton of programs installed by default in Emmabuntüs. Under Office, we have a ton of stuff. AbiWord, Evolution, GNUmeric, HomeBank is here for some free and open source accounting kind of software. LibreOffice is here, of course. System category will come back, but BleachBit is here for cleaning up the system, cleaning the cache files and whatnot. HTOP is installed by default. Let's go ahead and check out system resources. Now, I have opened a bunch of stuff in the last couple of minutes, so that may affect CPU and RAM a little bit, but no, CPU 1%, 3%, 2%, very low CPU, you would expect that. RAM, it is only using 429 megs of the 4 gigs of RAM I gave the VM, even with, some stuff running in the sys tray, some background services, so that is really, really light. Alright, so that's enough of playing around with all the programs on the system. There is a ton of applications installed by default. If I right-click on the desktop, we have a very populated right-click menu here with a ton of stuff, such as Open Thunar as root, Open Terminal as root, Samba. And then, of course, we have an application menu. So we have that right-click XFCE menu here, all the XFCEs, a menu that you had in the whisker menu, you also have in this right-click menu here. So pretty cool stuff. What I wanted to do was go to desktop settings. I want to play around with the wallpapers. You guys know I love the wallpapers. So let's check out some of the wallpapers installed by default. Some of these are very familiar wallpapers, been around forever. Again, this is based off of Debian Stretch. Debian Stretch has been around forever, so I've seen a lot of these wallpapers before. Since they're using a dark theme, a dark panel theme, and a dark dock, I probably would want to choose a lighter wallpaper to contrast that. Something like that looks very, very nice. Maybe something like this. Not too bad. That's a nice picture. Picture of a little pier there going out into the water. And this picture here is not bad. That's a darker picture, but you guys know I like simple, minimal kind of wallpapers. That's not bad, but if I want a light wallpaper, probably that's going to be the one to go with for now. Yeah, I can roll with that. Alright, let's also, I mentioned HTOP was here on the system, which we already checked out system resource usage. Let's also open a terminal. They've got the XFCE terminal, of course. See what kernel we're on, uname-r. 4.9 is the same kernel that Debian Stretch is running, so that's why it's 4.9. 4.9 is a LTS kernel. Also, updates. So if I click the updater here, there are 11 updates, so a graphical updater. I could go ahead and install the updates if I wanted to. I'm going to decline taking the update, though. I'm just going to close that. We also have a quick link to software here, so this should open up some kind of GUI software package manager, and it's welcome to software. So this should be like the GNOME Software Center, I'm assuming. Let's see, software catalog is being loaded. Okay. And we can search for software by searching through categories. For example, graphics and photography. Could go to something like 3D graphics and install anything I wanted to. Blender, for example. I click on Blender, click install, and it should just install it. No problem. It might ask me for a root password. You usually have to give a root password to install and remove software. Anytime you make system changes, you have to be root. Alright, anything else? If I do a quick search for software, I have a software and updates, so I'm assuming that was this. And of course we have uninstall Wine software. I'm not going to play with Wine. Synaptic Package Manager is also here. You have to be root, again, to install remove software, so it asks for the root password. And this is Synaptic Package Manager. If I wanted to install something in Synaptic, make this window bigger. For example, Blender again. Yeah, I just take it, mark for installation. Tells me all the dependencies that have to be installed along with Blender. Mark all of them. Hit apply. If you hit apply, it installs Blender and all its dependencies. Again, I'm not going to bother running through the install. And the dock at the bottom, I really didn't play much with the Cairo dock. I went through, the XFCE menu system, the whisker menu, but if I go to Cairo dock, right click on it, and then click configure. For those not familiar with this particular dock, it is a very featureful, very powerful, very customizable dock. Maybe too customizable for some users because you can be overwhelmed by the amount of customization you can do with Cairo dock. For example, what they have here for customization, this is the simple mode. If you go to advanced mode, it gives you every possible thing you could do with this dock, and you can see it is a lot of stuff. So we can change the style, appearance, the captions, the animations, pretty much anything you want to change about this dock. You can do it. You can make it look whatever you want it to look like. You can make it look like the Mac OS dock. You can make it look like a panel. You can make it mimic a panel such as the XFCE panel, for example. You can really do some cool stuff with Cairo dock. You can also have multiple instances of it. You can have one at the bottom of the desktop. You can have one at the right at the desktop. At the top, you can have as many instances of Cairo dock running as you want. So what is my first impression of Emmabuntüs? Well, Emmabuntüs, I'd never heard of it before, never looked at it, obviously, having never heard of it. So this is very much an installation and first look, and let's start with my thoughts as far as the project goal. Refurbishing older computers, resurrecting these machines, and getting them in the hands of the needy, especially needy children. In Africa, they mentioned they focus a lot of their work in Africa. The main dev, Patrick, and all these volunteers that are doing this, I want to applaud you guys. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Emmabuntüs is unlike a lot of other distributions in that they're actually doing something. Now, I'm not saying that, just programming and just, development work. It's not doing something, but they're really doing something. I mean, they are trying to help the underprivileged, and, they're trying to make a difference in the world. And again, that's why I wanted to share with you guys Emmabuntüs on the channel. That's why I wanted to give this a look, and I hope those of you that are interested in maybe volunteering your time and effort consider contributing to Emmabuntüs, because I think projects like this are important. Now, let's get to the distribution itself. What do I think about the distribution? I think it could be, there's some work to be done. I like the fact that it comes with a complete suite of software. I understand why, especially you're giving this to underprivileged people, especially in certain parts of the world like Africa, where internet it's not always readily available, so you have a ton of stuff installed on the system already, but you do have a lot of duplicated stuff. You had 3 different photo managers, you had a couple of different file managers, and you've got 3 or 4 different audio players. It's too much stuff on the ISO. It's too much wasted space. So I would streamline this a little bit, get rid of some of these duplicated programs. You don't need both XFburn and Brasero on the system, for example. You don't need Darktable, Shotwell, Digicam. You don't need all of those on the system. Pick your best program, what's most appropriate, and in particular, what's most appropriate inside the XFCE desktop environment. Get rid of all the KDE apps, get rid of the cute apps. So other than that, I think, you know, it looks nice. I like the whisker menu. They give you that option, you know, in that post-installation script. I love the post-installation script, by the way. It installs the codecs, Adobe Flash, and all that stuff. Love that. So give them a big A on that. The dock, I like Cairo dock. Now, Cairo dock is not simple or easy to use. So again, I personally, as a power user, I love Cairo dock. For newer users, especially users that are not that familiar with Linux, you know, I probably would have choose something a little simpler if I was going to use a dock. I probably would have went with Plank, to be honest. Plank is nowhere near as powerful and feature-rich as Cairo dock, but for the goals of this particular project, I think Plank is probably a better choice. Just my opinion. Overall, though, you know, if I was grading Emmabuntüs, man, I got to give the project an A. Just on its goal, I have to give this project an A, and I really hope these guys succeed in getting older machines refurbished and in the hands of as many children, especially underprivileged children, as they can. So I'm going to keep following the project on the channel. I'll keep, you know, every time they have a big release, of course, I'll check it out. So big props to Patrick and the Emmabuntüs team. This show, DistroTube, is made possible by Ansem, Carlos, David, Leor, and Rob. These are my highest tiered patrons. I really want to thank these guys. Without them, this show would not be possible. The show is also brought to you by the fine ladies and gentlemen. You see all their names on the screen. These guys make this show possible. If you enjoy this video, please consider supporting the channel. You will find me at DistroTube over on Patreon. Peace, guys.